Welcome to Dicejunkies. We're at Vans, our local comic shop, and I'm here with Travis, one of the owners of the shop, and they're having their 5th birthday of a successful comic shop. That's a rare thing these days.
I know. We've been around for 5 years. Vans as a whole, the original owner Van, he had owned the store for 20 years before we took over. So this is a 25th hard anniversary and a 5th soft anniversary for us. So, yeah.
Awesome. So, I mean, you know, we talk about comics a lot on the show. There's a lot of controversy between comics right now. A lot of people say comics are dead. What do you think? Are comics still alive and breathing, man?
So I think some of the stories coming out right now are the craziest things people have come up with because they've been stuck at home with COVID. These writers have come up with the coolest storylines. Something's Killing the Children. It's an independent novel done by Boom, which is just blowing up. There's a book that came out a year ago. It is $1,500 now if you have the number 1 because it's such a cool story that these guys have been sitting at home figuring out stuff to write. So I think the COVID gap in the comic industry, it gave everybody a hiatus to work on art, stories, revamp their companies, DC's new storylines, Marvel's new big storylines. I think it's been good for it. And the subscribers have shown that. The numbers are up. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I keep seeing all these comic shops dying. What are you doing in your comic shop then to make this? I mean, we've got a lot of people show up at this local comic shop. Why is that?
So, cliche answer, it's the people. It really is. Again, without the community purchasing books, supporting, coming out to charity events like we got going on now, you can't make this happen. So it's really because everybody wants to do their hobbies, and we've given them the opportunity to partake in it here, whether it's Warhammer, comics. That helps fuel and keep our store going. Again, y'all keeping the nerd hype alive and letting people listen and chat with things. Without this kind of stuff, we sit at home bored and play the same video game over and over. It's just, we give everybody this opportunity, yourselves included, to get involved. People get involved. Again, the staff here at Vans is phenomenal. These guys all know their stuff. I have certain people who just do my comics that keep me heads up on, what's the big thing coming out, Warhammer events coming up, what's the next big thing we should be doing for those guys. So between the community, the staff, it's just a giant ecosystem of nerd that just works.
Awesome. Well, hopefully anybody who's not local to our area, Jackson, Mississippi, then you also have a local comic shop that's putting the effort in. We always support, support local. We got Amazon and all this stuff now, so I know we're losing a lot of business there. And I mean, it's the community things you do that obviously bring in those customers instead of them clicking on something online.
For sure.
So if you had to, so somebody's coming in, they want to know where to start in this whole geekdom. What kind of suggestions would you give them?
So I get a lot of people who come in and they'll say, I've never been in here, I don't know what this is. And my initial question is always, what are you into? If you like the idea of D&D, you saw it on Stranger Things, or you wanted to read a comic as your mom and dad bought you a flash book when you were a child, we have all these avenues to get you started in all of it as an adult. As a kid, mom and dad, bring your kids in. Get them that flash book when they're a child. It will stick with them. Again, I read my first comic when I was probably 6 years old, and now I'm one of the owners of the store. So start kids off with these nerd genres. Whether you're an adult and you're just getting in, you're young, this kind of place, your local comic shops, is how you learn about this stuff. Watching and listening to podcasts about upcoming new games, new movies, things like that these guys do. That's the best way to get yourself involved and learn where to begin.
All right, nerd.
That's fine. I'll take the title.
Last thing really is, so with all the good, the bad, and the ugly with it when it comes to comic books, what do you read? Which one is your favorite?
Oh man! All right, so this is a good question. It's my favorite book. It's probably Chip Zdarsky, Daredevil. Phenomenal story. He's a great writer. If you haven't read it, please come down. I will chat your ear off about Chip Zdarsky and his Daredevil run. In December, he starts his next book called The Devil's Reign, and it's going to be insane. Phenomenal book, a very realistic take on somebody who has these awkward powers and has a disability. It's a phenomenal book.
Awesome. Well, we're going to walk around, talk to some people, see what maybe they think about comics, and we'll see you around, man. Thanks for throwing a great event.
Appreciate you guys.
Well, I don't think necessarily comics are dead. I think comics are just popular in a different area right now. Manga is, of course, bigger than it's ever been, and manga is just Japanese comics. And they're selling super well. I'll say here at the store, we have a ton of subscribers. We have multiple titles with over 30, 40 people subscribed to just that singular book, and there's almost 200 books every month. And like I said, multiple. I have at least 4 or 5 titles with 30 plus subscribers. So we're definitely selling a lot of books, at least here.
Yeah, so you have like something like, what's the most popular thing that coming out of the store?
There's a few that are typical. Batman, Spider-Man, and probably Spawn and Independent are like all the top books. Spawn has actually exploded in the last like 2 years to being like selling over 100,000 copies a book, which is crazy because it was down to like 40,000 at one point, which was pretty low. But all 3 of those are like over 30. I'm actually ordering over 50 copies of Spawn when you include the variants, and I sell all of them. Like, people grab them.
Ah, that's sweet. Yeah, no, Spawn was one of my favorites growing up, so it's good to hear that Spawn's doing really good. And I know you mentioned the big ones of Marvel and DC there. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, some classics don't seem to die. What about indie, man? How's the indie doing?
Indie's doing good. I think earlier, what was it? Travis mentioned Something's Killing the Children. Something's Killing the Children is doing really well. With indie, it's really names that do it. It's not necessarily titles. You know, Jeff Johns has a good book out right now called Geiger. It's probably in like my top 2 or 3 comics I'm reading right now. It's his first indie ever. It's almost like a Fallout type book. But you have Radiant Black by Kyle Higgins. It's very Power Rangers, Ultraman, Kamen Rider, like Japanese superhero inspired, but it's an American comic. It's very good. Donnie Cates has crossover coming out, which has been doing really well. Which is literally like all the comics from Image come into our world. So there's real people meeting comic book characters in this weird crossover event type book. There's a lot of good stuff coming out.
Sweet, man. Well, that's some good stuff to keep an eye out on. For the people watching, obviously, I got to get back into comics. I'm so far behind. So I'm taking these suggestions not only for the people watching, but for myself too. So thanks a lot, man, and keep it going, man. All right, we're here with one of the patrons of our local comic shop, Jonathan. Yep. That's what you just told me. I should know this. So what brings you back into comic shops? Like we've seen comic shops die all over the place, shut down. What brings you here?
Oh, man, I mean, the main thing about playing here at Vans is, I mean, it's like a family. Like, I'm really close friends with the owners, Travis and Charles. And, every time I come here and I play with, other guys, it's a competitive environment here, but, everybody's family, everybody's friends. And that's what keeps me coming out.
Awesome. So what's your favorite thing in Vans, like in the store?
I mean, I'm a big card player. I play Magic the Gathering a lot. All these comic books, though, got me thinking about getting back into comic books. I was a collector when I was younger, and just walking and seeing their selection here just makes me want to get back into it. And I got younger kids now, and, I bring them up here, and they want to get into comics. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, Travis says it's a good time. I don't know. I've been out of comics for a while myself because they were getting a little out there, Yeah. So I may have to pick up some more myself. But anything you got your eye on?
No, just, I'm looking to get my son into collecting comics. He's a real big Spider-Man fan, Miles Morales. So definitely looking into picking up some of those. I was just talking to Travis about that the other day, and he said he was going to point out a couple that he thought were a good idea for my son. So definitely looking at that.
Awesome. Yeah, you mentioned Miles Morales. I saw they had a comic that had the older versions of a lot of characters, and Miles Morales was one of those. Looked pretty badass. That's actually one that I was looking at. I was like, I like the whole aging up a character and seeing that. So awesome, man. Well, it was great to talk to you, and we'll see you around, I'm sure. So.
Oh yeah, I'll be here all day. Thanks a lot.